The following is a Hoop Ball presentation. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
Tuesday is here. I do love Tuesdays. I love me some full degeneracy on the pod. Dan Besbris, Neil Rochlani. It is Betting Tuesday. It's also Fantasy 101 continues. We started that yesterday with a look at mock drafts. We'll continue that today. We're going to be digging into early rounds of fantasy drafts. It'll be a slightly shorter lesson today because I want to make sure we leave enough time for my little pet on the side here, and that is gaming. Neil, good Tuesday to you. I'm excited to talk more season win totals this week.
I know you don't have a problem when you can leave it as a pet on the side, because to me, it's like the elephant in the room. So,
but at least it's not. So it was for a really long time, right? Like an actual elephant in the room is that everybody bets and nobody was willing to talk about it because it was taboo. They finally sort of dropped that BS because, come on, I get it. Like in the 70s, 60s, 70s, it was a mob racket. It's not anymore. Everybody bets on sports. If you watch sports religiously, you've probably placed a bet on it. Lord knows I live in L.A. I'm a 4-hour drive from Vegas. Like, I would have bet on sports before I was 21. You just send it $10 in with your dad or whatever. So it's not really an elephant in the room from that perspective anymore.
Not at all.
Thank goodness.
And it's going to get bigger and bigger, right? It's just going to. I'm waiting for I'm so curious how it all plays out legally, because it's like state by state right now, and I wonder if it ever becomes nationalized, and then if there becomes like one national market, almost like a stock exchange type thing for prices. But we'll see. We're getting ahead of ourselves.
That would be wild. But the only way I see that happening is if a place like a Harrah's or an MGM just takes over so many books that they can just run it all out of a central unit. Because right now you've got. Just in Vegas alone, you have a number of different sports books that all go to different coffers. I mean, a lot of those properties are MGM properties in Vegas, but not all of them. So, you'll see those numbers move around different, and then you've got the different offshores. You'd really have to, all bets would have to go sort of through one central hub for that to work, and that feels like a long way away. I don't know that ever happens because people want to keep their own money.
Yeah, but from a pricing perspective, from a consumer's perspective, it does. I don't know if you remember this site called Matchbook. Do you ever remember that website?
No, is that anything like the Facebook?
No, it's not. No, Matchbook. It would match customers. So instead of they wouldn't take a VIG, they would take 1% on every transaction.
Huh.
And so you would have lines like plus 106, minus 108.
And so if you were betting,
it'd be very tight. Yes, you'd be just basically doing bid and ask spreads, like almost buying a stock. So you're not like they don't need to manage the risk on a team. They just need to they want a transaction volume. They never got enough volume to make it work. They were based out of the UK and it never.
That's a shame.
Ended up voting.
That's a good idea.
But they didn't have. Obviously, on big games, they had a lot of liquidity, and then on the smaller games, had very little. So
I feel like you could do quite a bit just as like a sportsbook aggregator at this point, where you're just like, hey, are you betting underdogs? Maybe you should check out this sportsbook over here, where everybody else is betting the public favorite. You might get better odds at this sport. So that's probably out there, like the Trivago of sports.
Well, Sportsbook Review does that. I don't know if you ever use their site. They have all the big names up, at least the odds up for every game, and then all the different major sites.
So they definitely take some kind of cut if you click through and then deposit money.
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, that makes sense. Welcome to Fantasy NBA Today. You may be confused. This is still Fantasy NBA Today. At Dan Besbris, at Ball with Neil, or you can also follow him on Twitter at Big Orange Ball Neil.
Wait 1 second.
No? Medium orange ball, Neil?
It's just orange ball, Neil. It's not big.
One day I'm going to get you to actually change your Twitter handle to orange ball, Neil. Dan Besbris, Neil Rochlani, that's our names. This is, of course, a Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee presentation. Perfect thing to put into your body before you talk sports betting. You better be wired when you dig into the numbers, or you're going to miss something. At HI Kona Coffee on Twitter. HawaiianIsles.com is the website. Hawaiian Isles on Amazon as well. This is, of course, also a hoop ball presentation. That should be fairly obvious at this point. Thank you to everybody that keeps tuning in on this thing. I think I mentioned it on a podcast either last week or the week before. I was going through some of the numbers, and we're actually up 60% listenership year over year, which is pretty crazy considering kind of how far we've come already. It's not like we're going from like 50 to 80 at this point. Going 60% up the second week of the show was very easy, but once you get into the thousands, that becomes a lot tougher, and that's what you guys are doing now. So thank you. Keep rating and reviewing the show. That's part of it. Subscribing is part of it. We're trying to make sure this podcast is available literally any place on the internet that podcasts are found. And if you happen to have looked into a place and didn't see it there, let me know at Dan Besbris on Twitter, and I'll find a way to get it there, because I've been knee-deep in a giant podcast project over here, and now's a perfect time to just put one more thing on that to-do list. But betting. Betting is topic number one on today's show. We started to, Neil, we did sort of like a gut check on a few season win totals last week. This week, we're actually going to just start plowing through them 6 at a time. That's the initial plan here. Best laid plans. We'll see how long that takes us. If it's too long, we'll drop it back. If it's not long enough, we could obviously do more. And I ruined Neil's day by saying we're going to do it alphabetically, because that's just how I was typing them up. Luckily, you've done all of them, and I am still at P, so I haven't finished yet. So that's why I'm buying myself another couple of weeks. I think one of those teams like Washington was going to screw me up if we went from the lowest to the highest. So we're starting with Atlanta. I have them at 32.5. Is that what you operated on?
Yes, 32.5.
So I actually, believe it or not, I want you to go before me on these, because I think your analysis is going to be better this year than mine. I've been doing so many damn things over here. And second point is, you were the king of season win totals last year. Thank you.
I
was a mere 19 and 11.
Might be a big word there. Definitely among the two of us, I definitely outperformed you. That's really all that matters in my world, Dan. That's all that matters.
Well, we both beat Brew.
By one game. By one team, actually, I should say. 20.
You were 20 and 10. No,
21 and 9.
No, you had me by 2. I was 19 and 11, I think, right?
Oh, I thought you were 20 and 10.
I think I was 20 and 10 the year before.
Oh.
I don't know.
Oh, all right.
It was one of those two. Yeah, you were the winner. We both beat Brew, so we can feel good about that. He also had a winning record, but he only put in a write-up on 21 of the 30 teams. He was 12 and 9. So all winners all the way around, but biggest winner was Orange Ball Neil. So the Atlanta Hawks, what are you thinking on this one? They've had a lot of off-season activity, some good, some bad, some weird.
Yes.
And what I'll do here is I kind of try to tee this up to the best of my ability and then dig into your assessment. Is the Hawks last year coming off a 29-win season. They were 29, and 53 last year. Do they have what it takes, Neil, to add 4 more wins this coming season?
Do you want the punchline, or you want me to walk through it first?
Oh, this is entirely up to you, man. It depends how you like to tell jokes.
All right. Let me start off way back when.
Okay. The year was 1984.
The year was Atlanta was founded. So basically, I don't start with last year's wins. I start with last year's Pythagorean wins.
Okay. So what was Atlanta's adjusted
Pythagorean
win
wins?
total?
24.
24? That can't be right.
Yeah, that's what it was.
How did they end up with 5 additional wins?
I don't know.
That's not very good.
That's not very good. So I start with 24. That's my starting point. So maybe I should mention that. So I actually, because
I have a pretty good guess.
That's more relevant than the actual wins. And maybe I'm wrong about this. But that's what I did last year. It worked out for me. So I'm staying with it, at least for the season. Then I go into, and I got a lot of this from you. I should mention. You are my mentor in this.
It's fine. There was a really popular movie in the late 70s where one person trained another person to be good at something, and then that person became better than the first one. For some reason, the name of the movie eludes me, but it was really popular, and it has a 9-movie franchise made out of it now. Anyway, go on.
Yeah. All right. So I'm looking at consistency. from the organization. Roster improvement or
whatever the opposite of that is.
Yeah, devolvement. OKC, we'll just call that. The coach.
Aww.
I'm sorry,
yeah,
but
too soon.
I know. The coach, whether I think the coach is going to help them or not with this new construction, their motivation, and then the last one is the conference change. So I put numerical values to all those. So starting off with 24 wins, I have Atlanta improving 7 wins to 31.
Ooh,
so,
that's close, man.
Yeah, under the 32.5.
Oof, but not a whole lot of margin there.
No, I don't feel good about this. But if I had to bet it, I'd bet the under.
Yeah, this is one of my lower confidence bets as well. This was one I gave a 3 out of 10 because I had them at 33, which is just ahead of yours. I like you. I thought that there was going to be a pretty good jump this year, and I think the reason perhaps that I have them just a tiny bit farther out in front is that I am really putting a lot on the story for this team, and the story right now to me is that I think they want to win. And so a few of these, and it might even be, I mean, this may be stuff that gets rolled into all that stuff, is at the end of the year when a lot of teams are giving up, I think you may see Atlanta get 1 or 2 wins that maybe they don't deserve against a team that perhaps they shouldn't beat. The East is also terrible, which is, I mean, that's a pretty used up trope, but it is relevant because they have more games against these pretty awful teams. John Collins' health was a piece for me. Him being around the entire year, I think, is going to be nice. The loss of Dwayne Dedmon, I thought, is going to be something that stunts them a little bit. Their center position is, unless they play John Collins, they're not going to be that great this season, and they may be forced to do so. But I also actually, and this is like the little things, I like the Evan Turner pickup. I like Kent Bazemore more as a player, but I like Evan Turner more as a fit because they really had nothing when Trae Young was on the bench last year. They were just a total disaster. And now at least they have somebody that can kind of run the second unit a little bit. So I think they're going to keep playing hard, which we saw last year. I think they squeeze a few more out. So I am a very low confidence over. But you and I are within 2 wins of one another. And I think what the final verdict on this is that number's pretty good.
Yeah, it really is. I was surprised. I thought it would be higher, given the.
I thought it'd be lower.
Oh, you thought it was going to be? You thought it was going to be like around 30?
I thought it was going to be pretty close to where they were last year, build on last season's numbers, but it was well above it. And I was like, God damn it! I thought I was going to, have a 33 here, and then look at the number, and it's like, 29.5, fantastic, high confidence, and then it's 32.5. I'm going, you got to be kidding me, you turds. So if I was actually going to go to Vegas and bet on all of these, I'm not going to bet on all 30 of these teams. This is one that I would likely skip. Is this one you'd have enough confidence to put a small wager on, or is this a skip for you as well?
Probably not. I mean, I'm going to end up with, like last year, I ended up with 6 bets. I think it'll be similar this year. So I can't see this being one of them.
Yeah, it's just too close.
It's way too close. Yeah.
This is where the coin flips are going to go in one of our directions. And
I know. I'm already regretting this now.
No, you shouldn't. Why would you regret it? You beat me by 2 last year. You got a few of them.
But
you got those tight ones.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you got the tight ones. That's sometimes not all luck. What do you think about the roster composition? Do you like the loss of, like, I have no problem with the fact that Taurean Prince is not on this team anymore. He seemed like a really bad fit once Trae Young became so ball dominant, and Prince was just like, he was lost. He didn't know what the hell to do out there. So I almost feel like there's a little bit of an addition by subtraction because you go get somebody into the lineup that's a better fit.
That's a good point. Well, I wasn't seeing it that way. I thought Dedmon and Prince did add some value to that team in terms of talent. Maybe they weren't the right fits, though.
No, Dedmon was. Dedmon was for sure. That one is. Yeah. That's the one I think that's the one that's going to hurt them a little bit because they're very thin up front.
And Bazemore, and like you said, I do. Now that you mention it, I do agree with you that Evan Turner is someone who's probably a better fit. And he's also, I think, someone who's going to care more when he's out there than Bazemore did. So
you're right.
No, I think Turner, he's a really hard player. He's always been that way. So I like his motivation. We'll see. I mean, if they are, you're right. I mean, the bottom of the East is going to be bad, and they're not going to be in the bottom. They're a team that will compete with most teams in the East, I think. It is.
Is Alan Crabb a better fit with this team than Taurean Prince was? He might be.
Oh, gosh.
Forget the salary for a minute.
Yeah. I don't know their games enough, to be honest. I can look through their numbers, but I don't know their games enough to really say that. I don't know Alan Crabb's game that well.
A little bit more spot-uppy than Taurean Prince. So I think they tried to build, and this is like your people are going to crush me for saying this because it's not accurate, but they're trying to build around their superstar, and that's the way they have it in their mind. Now, obviously, Trae Young is not at that level yet. He did show nice improvement towards the end of last year. He was a fantasy wreck for most of the season, but they have a guy who needs the basketball in his hands all the time. So when he's on the floor, it's nuts to try to have anybody else out there that needs to be holding the basketball. So now they've got, front court guys that can run pick and roll, pick and pop, that type of stuff. You've got floor spacers in Alan Crabb. You've got a bench unit run by a point forward, so you have someone that can handle the ball when Young is not on the floor. And then you've got the sort of like the go-get-a-bucket guy in Jabari Parker. I don't know that he's a plus or a minus on this team. I mean, it seemed like they were okay with scoring points last year. But he does provide something that they didn't have last season. It's not something that really goes into my handicapping on this team, though. I think you and I agree they got better overall. I like the moves they made with the exception of not being able to retain Dwayne Dedmon. Because right now the only two official centers on the roster are Alex Len and Damian Jones. So it's going to be a power forward playing center. It's probably going to be Collins, but he should be playing power forward because, to me, that's just more the way he moves. He's athletic, he's rangy. He's not. He's not a banger. And I think you got to have a banger in there just to absorb some of that contact. So I don't know that I like that lineup, but I do like this team to get better, and maybe we're beating a dead horse a little bit with the Hawks, but the conclusion I hereby stamp too close to call. But we will, of course, stick on our numbers at the end of the year, and when Neil beats me on this one, he can rub it in my face. Next one on the docket, the Boston Celtics. The number I have is 48.5. Is that what you're working with as well?
It is.
All right. Boston Celtics. Let me tee this one up for you. Well, this is a loaded one, to be sure. Boston, last year, coming off a season of 49 wins. Season win total, again, of 48.5. So they dropped that down by 1/2 underneath their number from last year. No Kyrie Irving. No Al Horford. No Terry Rozier. No Aaron Baines. No Marcus Morris. Added Kemba Walker. Added Enes Kanter. And that's about it.
Yeah.
Added a chip on their shoulder.
That's true. I did give them motivation numbers. I did like their motivation this year.
I turn this one over to you.
Pythagorean wins. Do you want to take a guess at this one?
At their what their adjusted win number should have been?
Yeah, last year.
Ooh. I'm going to say it should have been higher. It should have been 51.
54.
Whoa, that blows my mind.
Yeah. I was shocked too.
That is a shocking number.
What's even more shocking, though, is even with that, I'm going with the under.
Ooh, I am not. You and I are on separate pages with this one.
I got him at 46 wins.
I am at 50 this year.
All right.
And it's largely the motivation factor for me. You know how much stock I put in that. Sometimes too much.
Yeah.
But I like Gordon Hayward coming back a little bit. I think Kemba Walker really isn't that big of a downgrade from Kyrie Irving. So this is basically just like how much does Al Horford, what does he count for on this team? And I think a lot, but some of that is going to be made up with, having a guy like a Marcus Smart just pissed every damn night. They're gonna ruin bad teams, and I think you're gonna see the Celtics get out to a quick start like they did 2 seasons back, where they were just playing needlessly hard during the regular season because they're going to get stomped in the playoffs. And so the regular season kind of becomes their proving ground. So I went over on this one.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I really went under because of the roster change. Mostly, like you said, I don't think Kemba might be, I wouldn't say a better fit, but I don't think he's a downgrade at all.
Yeah.
From Kyrie in terms of fit. And then it's really the Horford that scares me. Losing him. I don't know how much of an impact he really has, but I put it pretty heavy. And so that's why I ended up with the under.
It's significant. I mean, there's no doubting that. He's an outstanding basketball player who's just right place, right time, always doing the smart thing. It's part of actually why I'm so bullish on Philadelphia, but we're not getting there on
Yeah. What I was going to say is, though, this one is tough because when I did the number, I was like, I almost wanted to change it. You ever do that? You do numbers. You're like, that's wrong. I'll just put in something else.
I did.
You do all the math and you're like, this is what I'm putting this value here. I'm putting this value here. And then I'm like 46, really? Anyway, that's what I came up with. So I'm just kind of staying with it because they're really the Horford loss. I actually, they're going to, I mean, not just Horford, Morris. I know they can replace him on the court, but he was a good veteran presence as well. These younger guys, Jaylen Brown's going to have a much more significant role. Hayward is going to have to be healthy, which is more likely than not the case, but I'm still not 100% sold yet. And we'll see how they all fit together. It might take a little while to fit together too. So.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that. I'm just looking at the East. I'm looking up and down the East. New York, Cleveland, Chicago, Atlanta, Washington, Charlotte, the Pistons, who I still don't think are very good. I think the Nets are not going to be that great without KD this year. Boston's going to chew up these undisciplined teams. This I think you're going to see more of a Brad Stevens team this year, because I don't think he did that great of a job coaching last season. He lost that locker room last year, and they're going to try to blame it all on Kyrie, but that's. Scapegoating the guy who leaves is a very easy way to slough something off, but they're going to be so mean this coming season. And this is a Laker fan saying it too. I think they're going to have a really good regular season, and then I think they're going to poop themselves in the playoff. I think there's a chance they get wiped out in the first round by if they end up having to play an Indiana in the first round again or some other weirdo middling team, because they just don't, to me, they don't have the firepower come playoff time. But I mean, Kemba Walker he was everything for Charlotte. Charlotte Hornets won 39 games last year with Kemba Walker and a bunch of twigs taped together. They were cardboard cutouts that were standing next to him on the basketball court, and they won 39 games. To me, the rest of the Celtics are worth more than 7.
No, they are, but it's just you don't never know how things are going to fit. And I'm sure Stevens is a very good coach, one of the best in the league still, and I'm sure we'll figure it out. I just
you almost convinced me.
It's a lot of turnover, and it's a lot of turnover at I think guys that do a lot more than their stats sets say they do, and guys have to step up that haven't done it before or not recently. So
let me ask you a question on perception with this team, because this is where I'm often off the mark, because we're in this NBA bubble of people that talk and think about NBA way too much. What is the world saying about Boston right now? What is the NBA Celtics subreddit saying about Boston? Are they saying that the Celtics stink, or are they saying that the Celtics are really good? I have no feel for what is ESPN saying about the Celtics? I would assume they're saying, well, they lost Kyrie and they lost Horford, but I honestly don't know. I have no idea what's being said about this team.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not the guy to ask about that. I would have to say they're definitely not the buzz team for sure anymore in the East, right? They were last year. Weren't they the buzz of the team?
Yeah, cashed a nice buzz. Under on that one. Feel good about that. that was a nice under last year.
They were the team. They were the it team last year in the East. A lot of people thought they might actually challenge Golden State for the championship. Now I think they're kind of an afterthought in the East.
Can you believe that? That was a wet fart. Man, that was a wet fart of a prediction last year. Woof. I love fading it teams, and I love backing teams that feel slighted. But I don't even know.
That's the thing. When I saw this, that's why I didn't like it. I thought for sure I would be over on them. but I don't know how this ended up that way.
Yeah, you're going to have to fudge your numbers over there.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's an it team, the Brooklyn Nets. 45.5. Brooklyn won 42 games last year. They went 42-40, finished in the 6th seed, led by D'Angelo Russell, sometimes Karis LeVert, sometimes Spencer Dinwiddie, sometimes Jared Allen, sometimes the great Jared Dudley. Had to sneak that one in there. You want to talk about a new-look team, your Brooklyn Nets, there aren't too many holdovers. As I just mentioned a moment ago, their number is 45.5, Neil. Kevin Durant likely out for the entire season. They're throwing these little, curveball. Oh, well, if he's ready to play, he'll play. Let's not be stupid.
Oh, God.
That's stupid. That's stupid. They're not winning the title this year. Don't risk Kevin Durant again. I mean, we just saw this with the Warriors. His ankle or his Achilles wasn't right, and then he blew the thing out. He's not playing this year. Stop it. All right, okay. What do you got? What was their adjusted number?
41.
I was going to say I think it was lower, but not by much.
Oh wow, that's really good to have all those three correct. This is my third under in a row. I got them at 43 wins.
Yeah, I'm with you on this one. We're in agreement on this, and I feel pretty good about it too.
Yeah, just because people are assuming with Kyrie it's always going to jump. They're going to jump up from 42 to 45.5. With all the turnover, and then Kyrie, I don't know how he's going to fit in right away with that team. Obviously, he's not the consummate teammate, but I'm not bashing him. I'm just saying that on the court, he's more of a selfish player. I have them just getting like 2 more wins.
Yeah,
so.
I'm with you on this one. I'm fairly confident in that under as well. I had him around 42, almost like a wash in terms of the year goes, because I think Kyrie's going to take the sting out of guys like Spencer Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert. One of my favorite guys on this team is Joe Harris, because he's just going to be good no matter who you put him around. But D'Angelo Russell was sort of the face of that team. You guys know that I'm not a massive D'Lo fan, but I do think that's going to be a little bit weird because he was the guy that they kind of learned how to play around. I feel like DeAndre Jordan was superfluous. They have Jared Allen. I know they want the rebounding center, and Jared Allen's not a big rebounding type, so where the hell, how does this all mesh together? They gave DeAndre 4 years with this group. I don't, obviously once they get Kevin Durant back, they're going to be a monster because, well, depending on how healthy he is, I guess. But you could argue he's the best scorer in the NBA before he got hurt. That's a massive deal. The D'Angelo to Kyrie upgrade is something, but not huge. Obviously, much better efficiency, but Russell's probably a better passer than Irving. So I don't really like the fit without Kevin Durant. I think they're going to have some problems, and unless Kyrie just has a whopper of a season from front end to back end, in a season where they know they're not winning the title, is he really going to push himself? Is he going to play more than 65 games? I doubt it.
Yeah, that's the other factor. They know going in, this is not their year, right? So, I mean, the other players are going to play hard, obviously. I think all the young players will try. But I think if Kyrie is not given 100%, it's going to affect the entire team's sort of mojo. So,
yeah, I'm with you on that one. We agree. That's nice.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's just agree to agree, and we'll go to the next one. Charlotte, I have them at 23.5. Are you looking at the same number as I am as well?
I am.
They won 39 games last year. This is a weird one. They've dropped from 39 to now they have the lowest mark on the board at 23.5. Obviously, the loss of Kemba Walker is the big story of the offseason. They signed Terry Rozier for almost $20 million a year, and they still have all these other garbage contracts on their roster. This is a weird one, man. Neil, you know how I usually go. I almost always fade the storyline with Kemba leaving town. It's hard to picture this team winning more than 15 games. But I know they're going to have to, because you can just close your eyes and win 15 games in the NBA. Anyway, I'll let you go first on this one as well. 23.5 is the number for Charlotte. What do you got?
I've got 23.
So it's right on the mark for you.
Yeah. And this is one where I went back and forth on because I had 23 or 24, and then I looked at the number, and I'm like, shit. Like,
oh, you got to make me bust out the censor button.
Oh, my God. I'm so sorry.
What a time. No, let me go get it. Let me get that bad boy queued up. Okay, we're ready to go. What time did that happen? I got to timestamp this son of a gun. This is a monumental day in fantasy NBA today. All right, continue. I'm ready to go. I got the button. No one's going to hear it. Nobody even knows what word you said. Could have been anything.
All right. I like to fade the story too. Like when the hype is there, you bet the under. When everyone thinks they're terrible, you bet the over. But this might actually be true.
Yeah.
I mean, this team they lost. I think they lost Lamb as well, who I think is a pretty good player.
They did. You're right.
And they don't really have that much talent there. I don't know where their motivation comes from. They're not gonna be sold out every night. They're in Charlotte. I don't know what this is going to be dead. I think
there are going to be a lot of Lakers fans at that game.
There's going to be just, this one's really tough. But I think if I had to bet, I'm not going to bet this at all. But I'd probably lean under.
Yeah, this one I'm not touching. I actually came out to 24. So unfortunately, that does separate the two of us. But I'm by no means married to that final number. Look, from what is. I can't wrap my head around what this team did this offseason. They refused to give the best player that they've had since the rebranding here, and obviously they left and came back. So don't give me the Alonzo Mourning grandmama stuff. Kemba Walker was their everything, and they let him walk, and then just went out and spent $60 million on a Celtics backup point guard. A pillar of inefficiency who has not been tested as a go-to guy at all. Are you trying to lose? What are you doing, Charlotte? This is your opportunity to go into full rebuild. And they were like, nah, screw it. Let's tie up $20 million for 3 straight years on a guy we know nothing about. I don't get it at all. Don't they want to just ride out the Bismax and the Nick Batums and try to hit reset? What are they doing?
Yeah, that's really it. I mean, when a team is going to be bad, you think they're going to be really bad, and you think then the players will be motivated to play, but they're kind of stuck in no man's land. And Terry Rozier was awful last year. And he doesn't think he is. So I don't know how this is going to fit. I mean, I think he thinks he's a starter in the NBA, which he will be, but not on a good team. Unfortunately, not yet in his career. So I just think it's just dysfunction all around, which is why I have no confidence in this organization, which is why I ultimately went with 23.
This is one of those ones where, like you said, I got a number that came out as a half win over the line, but I mean, there's just no way that I'm betting an over on this god-awful situation. There's no chance at all. By the way, Nick Batum, he's getting paid $26 million this year as a player option for $27 million the year after that. Cody Zeller's making $30 million over the next 2 seasons. Bismack's contract is expiring this year. So they could actually, Marvin Williams obviously opting into his $15 million deal. Their salary situation comes down by $50 million between the end of this coming season and the start of the next one. This was an opportunity for them to totally wipe the slate, and they dumped $60 million into Terry Rozier. I don't get it. I don't get it.
And none of those players that you mentioned they're not playing for contracts. So.
No. Oh, by the way, Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, his $13 million deal is expiring this season as well. So, I mean, you're going to see this team ship off veterans at the All-Star break or before. Someone's going to go want Stretch Marvin, Old Man Marv. He'll be a great fit on some team. I don't know about Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. He might not be a great fit on a team. And I don't know about Bismack either. I mean, some contender will probably go pay him to rebound for 8 minutes a night. And then you've got these young guys that they could start to pile up. PJ Washington, Malik Monk, Miles Bridges, Dwayne Bacon, Devontae Graham, if you want to throw them into this mix. There's some interesting youngsters and the $20 million man. It's such a head scratcher. So this one is like basically a hard pass for me. I think, you almost have to go under because they're going to try to lose for some number. It might be a pre-tank. We might see them rest their veterans right at the beginning of the year. Right. You might see Batum get shut down at the All-Star break. You're probably going to see Marvin, as I just said, traded. There's just no way that they try to win 24 times during the year, even though my number says 24. There's no way I'm betting the over on this team.
Yeah,
So,
it's really hard to factor that lack of motivation.
I will join you.
And the team's desire to just grab assets. So
You started that by saying grab ass.
No,
sets.
did I? I said scrap assets.
Oh, I thought you said grab assets.
No, scrap.
Which is a really fun way to say it. Just playing a little game of grab assets. Chicago and Cleveland are our last two on the docket. The Bulls 30.5. Neil, you and I were both bamboozled by Chicago last year. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. What are we doing on this one?
I live here in the Windy City, so I have bull-colored glasses on. So it's really hard for me to get past that. I came up with, their spectacular wins were 18 last year.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I still came up with 32 for this year.
Yeah, I'm with you, actually.
I know. They just have a good young core who's going to play really hard.
I loved their offseason moves, which is super weird to say about a Chicago franchise that has made a lot of goofy moves. I love the midseason moves, too.
Yes,
the fact that they got Otto Porter midway through last year, that was a great pull for Jabari Parker and Bobby Portis.
Yeah, no kidding. That was fantastic.
That's scrap heap stuff. They got Otto Porter. He's great. He was just getting overshadowed by chuckers in Washington. Lauri Markkanen. I know Wendell Carter Jr. is hurt, but Wendell Carter Jr., they realize Chris Dunn is not the fit. I mean, they figure these things out faster than a lot of teams do. Tomas Satoransky, Thad Young, really nice ads. This is a team that's trying to win now.
Right. Good players, like you said, brought in that can help them win this year and at least try very hard this year. I hate their coach, but that's not going to stop them, I don't think, from getting there. It's just going to be It's going to be injuries. Hey, how about this fun fact?
Oh no!
Side note on fantasy: Lauri Markkanen, number 25 in ESPN 8-Cat Roto.
Oof, 25. He does have a sweet fantasy game.
Yeah, that's pretty high. Anyway,
that is pretty high.
That's pretty darn high. I just think they are gonna. I think their roster's gonna be. They were just snake bit last year with injuries. I mean, if that happens again, it's gonna be trouble. But I think they're starting to play well together, and like you said, they brought in three really good veterans that know how to complement other teammates and play well together. So
they're gonna try. They want to win games. I think Chicago wants to make the playoffs. I don't know that they're gonna. But I think they want to this year. They feel like they've assembled enough bodies to feel like they don't need to be in tank mode anymore. It would be very surprising if they threw this season the way that they have the last couple. They've got their young guys. It's time, and I think the moves bringing in Thad Young, this is a guy that didn't really need to go to a clunker team, right? Like he could have gone back to Indy. He could have joined another. He is very good defensively. You might not love his offensive game, and it's fine. It's limited, but defensively, he's excellent. And Satoransky, this is a guy that basically learned how to play off ball exclusively, so that allows Zach LaVine to be in the driver's seat from the guard position, Lauri Markkanen up in the big men spots. I like the fits. I think they found better fits on this. Chris Dunn was a terrible fit, by the way, with this team. So that addition by subtraction there as well. We agree to agree, so not going to flog this one too long. Cleveland, 25.5 is the number I've got on this ball club. You seeing the same one as well?
I am. I'm going under 24.
The Cleveland Cavaliers.
I don't know about this one, though. I feel bad because I don't know what's going to happen with Kevin Love. You think he sticks around?
Yeah, I think he's.
You think he's stuck there?
I really thought Portland was going to make a move for him. I know that's still floating around. That's the only place I could see him going, though, is Portland, because their salary cap situation is already a mess. So they could just, they could find some unfortunate contracts to send back out, and they'd have to send presumably future assets as well. And it gets Kevin Love out from under that thing. Cleveland is so far away from being truly competitive, but Kevin Love sat out more than half of last year. So I think he wants to play no matter where he is, and that's a lot to try to balance. They only won 19 games last season, but they did it basically without their only real threat on the floor. So I have them over by about a 0.5 to 1 win, but it's it's very similar to the Charlotte situation where it's really close. This was a 2 out of 10 on my confidence scale. So that's not 2 out of 3, it's 2 out of 10. I think if Kevin Love plays 65 games with the Cavs this year, they go over. But I really don't know if he makes it to that. I mean, obviously, if he gets traded early in the season, that an over on this team is cooked right out of the chute. So it's a really dangerous bet to make.
Yeah, I also have their wins last year at 16 from the mathematical perspective.
It's almost impossible to win that number of games.
I understand, but I'm a numbers guy.
The Knicks won 17. Neil, the Knicks won 17.
That's all I'm saying. I'm just going with that. They won 16 according to my numbers. Anyway.
They might have won 16. I believe that.
No, that's why I ended up with 24. I do think they get better. I think Kevin Love is going to play hard. I think he's a very good player. I think their young players are going to play hard. And in the East, it's hard not to win mid-20s. But I have them just under. So.
Yeah, that's an ugly one. I mean, I don't know that we want to spend too much time on this Cleveland one.
No, it's another no bet. I don't think.
It's a no bet. You're not actually making this one. Unfortunately, look, you and I are going to have fun, and we're going to put out all 30 because it's part of this fun exercise we're doing. But that's what the confidence numbers are for. If something says like 1 out of 10 or 0 out of 10 or even 2, you're probably not going to go. If you were actually going to go big bets on it, this is the one where you'd be like, I'm going to put $1.10 to win $1.
Yeah,
Take that, Vegas. You can keep my dime, my actual tiny 10-cent dime, not like the big dime, like actually 10 cents. And that actually is our 6.
Yeah,
that's our 6 teams for the day. So
yeah, I'd have to bet Chicago if I had to bet one of these 6, just to throw that out there. So.
Yeah, Chicago and actually, this is a really interesting grab bag of like 3 that I have 0 confidence in and 3 that I have decent to a lot in. Where I feel okay about the Boston over. We disagree on that one. And then you and I both like the Brooklyn under and the Chicago over. So there are actually a couple that I think we were relatively confident in.
Yeah, if I had to pick one, it would have been Chicago. But yes, Brooklyn would be a second one, the under. So those 2, I agree with you.
Next week, we're not done with the podcast, by the way. We still have Fantasy 101. But next week on our season win totals, it'll be Dallas, Denver, Detroit, Golden State, Houston, and Indiana. D through I. A magical time in the NBA, D through I. All right, Fantasy 101, lesson number 2. Big thank you again, by the way, to Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee for getting us through season win total portion number 1. Early drafts, early rounds of a draft. This might not be the most interesting discussion because I think you and I see fairly eye to eye on this one, although I think you're a tiny bit more of a gambler than I am with the first 3 rounds. You know my take, Neil. I am hyper-conservative the first 3 rounds of a fantasy draft. But some of it has to do with the level of your competition in your league, right?
Yeah, but no, this is going to be a boring conversation because I am big on don't lose in the first 3 rounds. So
yeah, exactly.
That's really it because it's not about taking risks in the first 3 rounds. It's about taking the safe players that you can trust. And usually someone by the third round is usually someone who's pretty safe still because people are reaching. So I don't do anything interesting in the first 3 rounds.
God, you made a lot of really good points in there. Actually, let me isolate them again because there were a couple things you said that I thought we should highlight here for this lesson. Fantasy 101 lesson number 2: early rounds of fantasy drafts. Number 1, you said you can lose your league in the first 3 rounds, but you can't win it. And so that to me is a really key point that I think people should glom onto. Unless you're in a hyper-competitive gigantor league where you actually could potentially win it. So, we're talking about like 20-plus teams at this point because there maybe you've got like pick 17, you got to swing for the fences a little bit because you're just cooked. 5 teams in your league are going to have these guys that are putting up video game numbers, and then nobody else has any access to anything close to that, and you're getting like a mid-second round pick at the end of the first round. So let's wipe out big leagues. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about 12-team leagues, basically. You can't really win your league with your first, second, or third round pick. It can make your team good or very good, but there's still too many things that can go wrong. But you can lose your league if you draft. I mean, there's a lot of examples of this just from this most recent season.
Mm-hmm.
If you drafted John Wall in the second round, you probably didn't win your league. There's probably some examples of somebody that figured out a way, but that's almost an immediate death blow.
Yeah, but I don't like that example because he was hurt, right? I'm
yeah,
not
but he
talking about
probably
injury
also
guys.
shouldn't. Okay, that's fine. But he also probably shouldn't have been a second.
Yeah,
round.
yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
All right, Ben
I mean,
Simmons.
I mean,
better
if you would have
example?
reached for like, let's say,
Ben Simmons.
gosh.
Ben Simmons has
Ben
got to be the
Simmons.
example.
Yes, or who else might have been a hot name? Donovan Mitchell in the first 3 rounds,
Or Oladipo the previous year when he was with
or
Oklahoma
Oladipo,
City.
even him. Yeah, I mean, obviously he got hurt, but before he was hurt, he was like in the 40s, I believe. So.
If you look at Depot, actually 2 of the last 3 years, because
Yes.
this season he was hurt, but he was underachieving even before that, and then 3 years or 2.5, whatever you want to call it, with Oklahoma City, he was a massive underachiever. I had a Depot on his on his Oklahoma City year, and that team did not win. There was almost nothing I could do. The rest of my team was pretty good, and it didn't matter because I just didn't have a second round pick effectively. That's a really hard way to win your league, and I didn't think that. I mean, I didn't think it was that crazy of a pick either. It seemed like he was going to be a great fit. But let me build on that and ask you a question, a follow-up, Neil. Do you have to retool a little bit this year because of player movement? There just aren't as many safe bets in the first 36 players.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but some guys you kind of know are going to be safe. Like, not safe, but you know their game's not going to change much.
Let's just peel
maybe
through
not,
them.
maybe not the best example since this is not a guy I ever am going to draft, but Westbrook, his numbers won't be terribly different, I don't think.
Yeah, but I mean, he's always going to get overdrafted, right? You're not going to be able to get him at 30.
Exactly.
He finished at 30 last year, but there's no way he falls to 30.
Oh no, he's too big of a name.
All right, let's lightning round this thing.
Okay.
I'm going to list we're going to do the top 30 players rapid fire. We're just going to both say, you go first, I'll go second on all of them, whether or not they're safe or not safe. James Harden.
Safe.
Safe. Anthony Davis.
Safe.
Safe. Paul George.
I don't know coming into the season. That's why I'm not safe.
Yeah,
but once he's playing, he's safe.
Right. We don't know how much time those shoulders might cost him. Steph Curry.
Safe.
Very safe. I'm not worried about him at all. Giannis. That's an easy one.
Yeah.
Cat. That's an easy one.
Yep.
Kawhi Leonard.
Safe.
Really? Even with the low game total?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to say not safe, unless you can get him in the later part of the second round, which you won't.
Yeah, well, this is where Rodon and head-to-head really diverge, right?
Very true.
Yeah, because head-to-head, this is where I'd make the mistake and draft Kawhi in a head-to-head, and I'd be like, why did I draft him? Because I'm always thinking rotisserie whenever I draft, so yeah.
Yeah, I would be afraid even on the Roto side because he was he was number 7 by average last year, but he was in the late teens by totals because he only played 60 games, and that's probably the target again this year is 60 to 64. To me, his ceiling is number 15 or 16 just because of missed games. And
okay,
I don't know if he.
I guess you're right about totals. I'm thinking stat set, but you're right. Totals, it'll probably be worse than averages.
Well,
sure.
stat set is delicioso. Joel,
it's safe. That's what I'm saying.
The stat set is safe. Joel Embiid.
Safe.
I'm going to say unsafe because even last
Really?
year, we've all been like, hey, he was mostly healthy. And then you look at the numbers, it's like, oh, wait, he played 64 games last year. I don't think his knees can make it through a regular season. And I think you're going to see...
I think we're playing different games here. I'm sorry to interrupt. But I was really thinking we're talking about stat set on new teams, and we're talking about just like player...
Yeah, just like would you take this guy where he's generally going in a fantasy
I see
draft?
what you're saying.
Effectively.
Okay.
Do you want to change...
I'm very slow. I got this orange head, and I can't...
Big, orange head Neil. Do you want to change any of your earlier answers?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Kyrie Irving. I'm going to say unsafe.
Oh, I'll go safe.
I don't like the injury stuff again. Nick Vucevic. He ended up at number 11, by the way, last year.
Well, I mean, I don't like him at 11, but I think
No.
No. So I'd say, does that mean unsafe?
I don't know. This is a
I
tough
like
one.
him.
Yeah, because I like him too. Assuming he falls a little bit, we'll say safe. Dame. This is an easy one.
Yes.
Nikola Jokic, also an easy one.
Yeah.
Bradley Beal.
I'd say unsafe.
I'm going to say safe.
I don't think he wants to be there.
No, but I think as long as he's there, he could be a first-round guy.
Yes,
I don't know if
that's why
drafted.
I'm saying unsafe, because I don't think he's going to stay.
Yeah, I think you could probably get him in the second round. Jimmy Butler.
Safe.
Yeah, I'm going to go safe on this one. I think he plays more than 65 games this year. Rudy Gobert.
Safe.
Andre Drummond.
Safe, I guess.
Yeah.
But I never pick him up because of the percentages.
Yeah, that's fine. You don't have to like the stat set. I don't either, but he is safe.
Yeah.
Basically, you know what you're going to get. Rob Covington, by the way, was number 18 on a per-game basis last year. I'm going to jump over him because it's not really what we're talking about. He's not going to get drafted in the second round, so there's no point there. Clint Capella. I'm going to say safe.
Yeah, I guess so.
Here's the safe. This one, if you disagree with me on this one, I'm just going to stop recording the podcast. And I don't care that he's on a new team. Kemba Walker.
Oh, safe.
Yeah. Drew Holiday.
Safe.
I'm very worried about a shutdown late in the year, but you can't draft like that, so I'll say safe. Chris Paul.
I'd say unsafe.
How interesting is Chris Paul this year?
He is so. Now, this is a guy maybe I would risk in round 3.
Yeah, I would too.
If he was there.
Let's get silly. Because look, like the worst case scenario for Chris Paul is he gets shut down after like 55 or 60 games, which is exactly what happened last year in Houston, just in a different order. So, yeah. Assume that as a worst-case scenario, but putting up eye-popping numbers with Oklahoma City. He's going to go bananas with that team when he's on the floor.
He's going to be their alpha and omega. Yeah, it's going to be ridiculous.
It's going to be weird. I think they're going to be pretty good, actually, with Chris Paul doing his stuff, but he's got to stay healthy.
He's going to be like the Kemba Walker of OKC.
Yeah, they're going to 39 games, and it's going to be Chris Paul and a bunch of stick figures. LeBron James, he ended up, by the way, at number 24 last year with that god-awful free throw number.
Yeah, I mean, at 24, I would take him in a heartbeat.
Right, yeah, that's a safe play there, but, let's assume he goes in the second round. Is he safe there or no?
No, his percentage, his free throw percentage really scares me.
LaMarcus Aldridge, he ended at number 25. I'm assuming he falls farther than that this year.
Yeah, I played 82 games last year. I'm going to say safe, though.
Yeah, safe. Miles Turner.
Safe.
Mike Conley, new team.
Oh, I love him this year. Safe.
I'm on the fence. I'm undecided on Conley. It's a weird new setup with him having a ball-dominant guard next to him. He hasn't had that in a while. I'm going to say unsafe. I don't want him until the 4th or 5th round, and I don't think he's fallen that far. We're not going to talk Gallinari. I know he finished at 28, but he's not a guy that's going to be drafted in there. I'm going to jump straight to Russell Westbrook. Depends where he goes. The answer to this one is depends where he goes. There's no, we can't answer this question definitively. If you guys, by the way, anybody listening has any additional names you'd like to know, just throw them at us on Twitter. Again, at Dan Besbris, at Ball with Neil. This is what we're talking about, though. The reason we went through this talking about safe and unsafe is you hear the word unsafe. I would say from either of us on any particular guy, just wipe him off your list. There's no reason to spend your 1st or 2nd round pick on a guy that may or may not pan out because you're looking at it like, and this is why I felt this way about Joel Embiid. He's probably going to get drafted towards the tail end of the 1st round this coming year. And if he only plays 64 games, that's soul-crushing. His stat set's fantastic, but you got to try to grab a guy that you feel confident is going to be out on the floor for 70 games or more. Obviously more that would be a best-case scenario. And then kind of same deal in the 2nd round, a little bit less so in the 3rd. You can start to take a little bit of a chance there, not much. Like we said, Chris Paul is kind of the one we'd consider. So the reason we had this exercise, and I want to try to wrap up the podcast here in the next couple of minutes, because we are droning on a long time, is what Neil said, which was key point number 1. If you miss, what if you picked Embiid and he plays 55 games? Your 1st-round pick plays 55 games. You're killed. You're done. But you can take Kemba Walker at 21, and if he ends up at 26, but he plays 79 games, that's a win. He holds your team. You're good. You don't have to worry about anything. Good point number 1. Neil, we're so far removed from the good points you made. I don't remember what the second one was, but it was also really good.
Thank you. I have
welcome.
no idea what I said.
Yeah,
Thank you
damn
very
it.
much. Yeah.
I'm going to have to go back and listen to it, and I'll try to remember to tweet what the second one was. Because you said two good things about why to go a certain direction at the beginning of drafts, and you guys heard it, I heard it, and now I've forgotten it because we got sidetracked by safe and unsafe. A really complicated game a lot of 17 and 18-year-olds play in high school called Safe or Unsafe.
Can I throw in a little curveball before we wrap up?
Yeah, spin one off.
Okay. Yeah, so we were hoping these guys play 75-plus games. Do you think that baseline changes with this load management thing?
Nah. Some guys go and some guys don't.
Yeah.
Like, Cat goes. They're not going to stop him. James Harden goes. We've seen it at this point. D'Antoni can't stop him.
Yeah, you're right. I was just wondering if you bring it down a couple games to what your expectations are.
Well, the league average certainly has slowly petered off.
Yeah.
Though they lengthen the season by seemingly an extra week every year, it doesn't make any difference. No, I mean, there are just some guys that want to go and some guys that don't. I think Anthony Davis plays probably 75 games this year. I don't think he misses very many. He's going to say no to load management, even if it would be in his best interest. Plus, once he gets the bathroom trips mid-game figured out, then everything will be fine. What do we have to worry about? Okay, so let's expand upon the Chris Paul thing just a tiny bit as a last point before we wrap this up, is why this is the one guy we might consider not going safe for in these early rounds. Just a final thought on why. Neil was saying you can lose it, but you can't win it in the first 3 rounds. The long form version of that is there's so many more rounds after this when you can take some chances and really try to get over the hump in your league. There's no reason to do it early. You build that nice foundation and basically guarantee yourself like a 4 seed, and then you do your winning later on. Your clever picks in drafts, your clever pickups, that type of stuff. That's where you get over that hump. Why is Chris Paul, Neil, looping back around, why is he the guy, and I mean, I know the answer to this question, but why is he the guy that you and I both were like, if I'm going to risk it for anybody, it's this 35-year-old fart?
Yeah, because, he is going to be everything in OKC, and we know his stat set is amazing when he's playing, and he's a first-round talent still.
Yep.
Possibly. And he's a competitor who's going to want to play and win. So it's just a matter of injury risk. So
you said it, man. You know my buzzword for that, portfolio. He's got the portfolio.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to go back very far to see Chris Paul as like the number 6 ranked guy in fantasy. What is it, 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago he was number 8 in fantasy basketball. He played for the Clippers then. You may remember this time. It was not that long ago. He averaged 18, 5, and 9, 2 threes, 2 steals, almost 48% from the field and 89% of the foul line. 2.4 turnovers per game from a point guard. He had an assist-to-turnover ratio of 4-1, leading that Clippers team with, again, over 9 assists per ball game. And it could be higher than that on this Oklahoma City team because they have Dennis Schroeder, Steven Adams, and Danilo Gallinari. So, portfolio. Like, he played 61 games that year. He was the number 8 ranked guy on a per-game basis. And despite playing 21, he missed 21 games, he was still a very early third-round value on the year. That's missing 21 games. So that's a pretty effing spectacular floor you're looking at for Chris Paul. So Neil said it. I will take credit for it. And that's portfolio right there. That's about it. We got 6 more teams coming up next Tuesday.
I don't know if you can hang around, but I remember my second point now, if you want to bring it up.
Oh, yes, please. For God's sake, remind me.
I think other players end up reaching, so safe players will fall to you. Yes.
How did you remember that, you brilliant son of a gun?
Do you want to give me? Do you want to elaborate on my brilliance there?
Yes, I will elaborate on Neil's brilliance. It's shimmering beacon on a hill, the likes of which we've never seen. He's so right because it makes drafting safe super easy because other people in your league are going to snap up these weirdos way too early. You're going to see somebody do something crazy, And I don't even have a good example of it for this coming season because there's been so much damn player movement. But, like, you're going to see somebody that should have gone in the 4th round go in the 2nd round, and that's just going to leave these really easy 2nd and 3rd round guys for you to pick up.
Absolutely.
Well said, Neil. Well said.
I could not have said it better myself. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, you did, man. Well done. Good memory. Man, what a guy. He's Neil at his Orange Dead.
I am at Ball with Neil, by the way.
Yeah, it's at Ball with Neil. If you're following Orange Balls Neil, you're following a very different website. He's Ball with Neil, BALLWITHNEIL. I am at Dan Besbris. This is Fantasy NBA Today. Fantasy 101, Lesson 2 complete. Tomorrow, maybe Brandon Marcus. Again, dependent on the debut of our Hoopball Clippers podcast. Either way, the Fantasy 101 Week 1 continues on Wednesday. Neil, are you with Josh again on Thursday?
I am locked and loaded with Josh Millman.
Oh, yes, the zest. The sriracha sauce that is Josh Millman coming in hot on Thursday. Adrian and Coach wrapping up their Summer League breakdowns. Part 3, that's on Friday of this week. Have a wonderful Tuesday, everybody. Big thank you to Neil for having a short-term memory so long.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.